just invite you, and then you go down, and then there will be a video. So we will go all down, watch a video, and then we start. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Sorry to have you start your Monday so early, but we are really happy to have you today. Today's panel is hosted by CGIAR and Rockefeller Foundation, as well as FAO. It's organized by the Water Energy for Food program. It's the Water Energy for Food program is funded by multiple donors, the USAID, Dutch Foreign Ministry, SIDA, Swedish Development Agency, GIZ, and the EU. Its ultimate objective is to contribute to more climate resilient food value chains and at the same time help vulnerable communities and women improve their livelihood and income. We will start with opening remarks from Kitty van der Heijden. Kitty is the Director General of the International Cooperation at the Dutch Ministry for Foreign Affairs. Kitty, through her career, has focused on developing and pushing further sustainable economic development with climate and gender inclusion, as well as wider justice and fair development at the center. She has contributed to this through multiple positions, including World Resource Institute, UNIDO, and of course through multiple activities and position in the Dutch Foreign Ministry. Thank you, Kitty, and please, we would like to start the panel with your opening remarks, please.
Good morning. I hope this works. I hope this is the announcement that we are flying off to a good start of a wonderful event. Welcome all the viewers online. Welcome here in the room. It's great to be here. I know it's a Monday morning. It's really early. So grab a cup of coffee while you're at home, and I hope that all of those that had a good day off from the negotiations are refreshed and re-energized while we're here. So, as Mohammed just said, this is a program supported by the Dutch. We're really proud to support this together with USAID, with Swedish SIDA, but with BMZ and GIZ, and of course the EU. And from my perspective, why this is so important, it starts with the last letter of the acronym WE4F. It starts with food. 1 in 8 in this world still go to bed hungry. That is, in this day and age, unacceptable. So we need to produce more food, much more food, and we need to distribute that food in an equitable way. But food is also a major contributor to climate change through land use change. Food uses 70% of freshwater resources. Food uses 30% of the global energy consumption. And we know we have runaway climate change. That's why we're here. And we know that water is becoming more and more scarce. So we need to produce more food, but do that in a radically different way, and making sure that we do this taking into account equity, which means jobs, which means skilling young people, which is bringing the economy further in a more sustainable way. That is what this program is about. WE4F is trying to bring sense to a spaghetti bowl of interlinkages between water, energy, and food production in a very integrated way. What it does is actually 3 things. WE4F provides grants, which are much needed. It provides ESG-focused technical assistance, and it provides investment facilitations for small and medium-sized enterprises, which is I would say, the engine of job creation in many countries. And in addition, it's taking into account the farmer's client base. It supports innovative finance solutions for climate resilient technologies in farm production. By scaling those SMEs, by looking at local technologies that work, we are contributing to something that I think is the dominant theme throughout these UNFCCC debates, which is locally led adaptation. Using local knowledge and bringing local solutions to local people. Now, already from the theoretical perspective, I would say, what's not to like? What's not to like? You produce more food, you create jobs for young people, and you do it in a more sustainable way. But let me throw out some figures so that if you're not convinced by the model, I hope data will. We just had our midterm review. That report is just 1 month old. What does it say? Around the world, WE4F supported 135 SMEs in no less than 38 countries. That's a good start. Now, what did they do? Well, these companies helped more than 500,000 farmers, mostly smallholder farmers, to produce 2.9 million tons of food. So from a quantity perspective, super. But now, let's think of the potential side effects. They could be very bad from a climate, water, energy. But through this program, what happened is that we saved 500 million kilowatt hours of energy, right? And 50 million tons of CO2 emissions. Now you tell me what's not to like. And by applying water efficient technologies, what we also did is reduce the water consumption by 1.7 billion liters. Right? So on all engines, it's firing in the right direction. It works for the environment, it works for the economy, and you'd be really silly not to engage in this. So this program not only works, this program is incredibly important for the future of our planet. It's incredibly important for young people finding jobs. That's why we are so keen to roll this out even faster in the MENA region, because I think there's a high need on all respects. So count on us as the Netherlands, but all the supporters of the WEF for Food program to continue our support. You are the trailblazers, you know what's happening in the field, and I'm keen to hear how you're doing this. Thanks so much for hosting this event.
Thank you very much, Kitty. You put it in a very, very nice way. I now I woke up. So we will see a short video about the program before we go to our amazing panelists, where we can learn and reflect more about this program, Water Energy for Food. Please.
Soil productivity. To tackle the Did you know that food production uses 30% of the global energy supply? That agriculture consumes 70% of the world's freshwater resources? But that's not all. Farmers face many more challenges that negatively affect their food production and livelihoods. Climate change, for example, increases water stress and decreases soil productivity. To tackle these global challenges, the international multi-donor initiative Water and Energy for Food, We for Food, sustainably scales innovative solutions to meet the challenges in the water, energy, food nexus. Promotes climate and environmental resilience and biodiversity through the sustainable, holistic management of natural resources and ecosystems. Increases food production along the value chain through a more sustainable and efficient usage of water and energy. Increases income for base of the pyramid women and men in both rural and urban areas. We for Food operates through regional innovation hubs around the world. The hub's main activities are identifying innovators, providing technical assistance in general business skills, marketing and investment readiness, bringing together innovators, financiers and investors, engaging with policymakers to advocate for improved enabling environments that allow innovations to grow and prosper, and providing trainings to local actors, such as smallholder farmers, development practitioners or research institutions. Through these activities, we can impact nearly 1 million farmers using innovations that save water and energy with every usage, and help them to produce more food, which in turn increases their income. To learn more about Water and Energy for Food, visit our website, follow us on social media, and subscribe to our newsletter.
So thank you very much. I am Ahmed Hussein. I will be the moderator today. And the idea is that through our amazing panelists, we will be looking to know a little bit more about the how how this great achievements can be put on the ground. I do believe that the Water Energy for Food program is also a model for development. I think it's an example how with very rationed investments and you can catalyze a bigger impact. So first of all, I will introduce the panelists and then we can go through some questions and then we go to the audience for Q&A. First of all, Ms. Irene Bourdadi, please. Irene Bourdadi works in Chemonics Egypt as the head of entrepreneurship and SMEs support. She's a technical assistance manager in the Water Energy for Food program. So she is in the team in the front line working with the innovators in the MENA region, helping them achieve the targets. Second, Mr. Mohammed Khalil. He is the founder of the Platform, which is one of the most innovative digital agriculture firms in the region. Platform really works with farmers to provide them with high-tech digital data that helps them improve their production through smart applications. The solution, the platform really saves water, energy, food, and pushes farmers to more optimized operations through digital process data and artificial intelligence. And now we have also, last but not least, Ms. Nadine Khouri. She's joining us through Zoom from Lebanon. Nadine is the COO of Robinson Agri, which is a leading agriculture firm in Lebanon. It's a one-stop shop helping farmers with various inputs with promoting the product. It's a partner for farmers. Through the WEF program, Nadine and Robinson Agri have been working into providing farmers with smart irrigation applications, drip irrigation systems that are water saving, improving production, along with providing them with climate resilient seeds. Thank you very much for attending. So I'll start, Nadine, great to see you. So my first question, I'll start with Irene Bourdadi. So this looks like a riddle a little bit. If you can let us know from your experience in Water Energy for Food, how this program can help food chains become more smart, climate smart and resilient, but also at the same time achieve developmental objectives such as helping vulnerable communities and women improve their livelihood and income. So how can you meet this through the program activities? Thank you.
So first of all, thank you so much for the amazing introduction. Very heartfelt, very passionate, and explained exactly why SMEs and local innovations have an important role in making agriculture value chains more resilient. So I feel very responsible to represent the portfolio of 135 organizations that we're working with across the globe. I'll try to give you throughout my responses a sneak peek into why these local innovations are really making agri-food value chains very resilient. But I would like to also start by saying that in addition to the video that we saw and the different technologies that we saw, the solutions that are being deployed to make the agri-food value chains more water sustainable, more water efficient, more energy efficient, what's very interesting is that most of these organizations that we're working with, whether they're non-profit or for-profit, are actually deploying solutions beyond just the technological solutions, beyond just the product or service. They're offering alternative inputs serving the very early stages of the value chain. They're offering also things like drought resilient seeds using tissue culture, for example, in a firm called with a firm called Suda Garlic in Sudan. They're offering alternative and sustainable inputs like compost and pest management solutions. They're offering solutions like not just, for example, drip irrigation, but also offering farmers access to extension services, innovative extension services that are not typically available in many of the emerging markets that we're working in. These innovators are also offering access to markets through certification, consultations, technical assistance, capacity building. So in addition to the technologies that they're offering, the water and or efficient technologies that they're offering, They're also offering holistic solutions that are not typically already provided in their markets, like I mentioned. Just to give you a sneak peek into some of the technologies that our portfolio of companies and nonprofits are working on, we have groups of companies working on the input level, on the farm production level, producing, as I mentioned, drought-resilient seeds, for example, or even using indigenous seeds for biodiversity. In the case of, for example, the High Atlas Foundation in Morocco, and also the case of Suda garlic in Sudan, who's using tissue culture to produce seeds. There are companies producing alternative inputs, as I mentioned earlier. There are companies offering energy infrastructure in vulnerable communities and in remote communities that do not have access to a reliable source of energy, like those providing solar pumping solutions and cold storage solutions, for example, in East and West Africa. There's companies and organizations also offering solutions related to food production, more sustainable food production, like helping consumers switch from dairy, traditional cow products to goat-based products, also with a certification and supporting them in going organic, etc.
Thank you very much, Irene. Now I go to Mohammed from Platform. I always think like with the digitalization and the internet and the more advanced applications, farmers usually feels left out. They feel this is not something for them. I really would want you to give us an idea about how this AI, sensors, computations, satellite data, and all these things that look so advanced are actually in your business, helping resilience in food value chains, but also making people's life better, and try to convince us that it works.
So let's talk first about data collection. For agriculture sector, data collection has been one of the most challenging parts. So usually agribusiness or even small farms, usually they are in remote areas where getting the data is not easy as it is when you are inside the city, for example. So if we consider the advancements that happen in the space industry, so for example, we have a huge number of satellites, around 4,000 satellites. It's called CubeSats, where you can, they put multispectral cameras and sensors to collect data on daily basis. So imagine you have around 4,000 satellites, CubeSat satellites. The cost of each of those satellites are tens of thousands of dollars, and they are able to collect data on daily basis. And this data can be utilized for agriculture. I will mention how. This is one advancement that help agriculture. Second advancement, the advancement in connectivity. So now there is a breakthrough in the connectivity from capability perspective. Now you can, there is a technology advancement in connectivity where you can put sensor very far away and still can send a small amount of data on daily basis with very low cost. So those are two examples about the advancement in technology for collecting data. So let's talk about how this can help agriculture. So today, if we have a multispectral sensor on a CubeSat or a sensor put remotely in a farm collecting data about soil moisture, or the satellite collecting data about the crop performance where you can monitor the crop health, you can monitor the water soil content at each spot of the field, you can expect the production. And if you have those sensors you put on ground collecting data about soil health or crop health or weather data, if you have all of this data with you, either you are running agribusiness or you are running a farm, you are able to utilize this data to monitor your crop as a first milestone, to know where are the bad spots, where are the good performing spots. This is one thing. Second thing, you have an idea about the irrigation. One of the most costly parts of the agribusiness operations is the amount of water you apply on daily basis. So if you have a data that helps you how much amount of water you need to apply, and whether your previous irrigation during the last few days is excess or below crop requirement, this can help you to reduce your cost and avoid any losses by monitoring the crop performance, where you can tackle those spots and increase your productivity. This is a third part. You can utilize, or the data collected by satellite or ground sensors are utilized to give you an estimate for your crop production. This is a very crucial point for agribusiness. So crop monitoring, water efficiency monitoring, and even utilizing the water during the next few days in a better way, and estimating the crop production, those are three parts that plays a major role in the daily operation of agribusiness. There are other applications where you can use those data collected from ground sensor and satellite, for example, to predict a disease, a specific disease, that your crop is more vulnerable to have this infection during next 48 hours. This is another application. But talking about crop monitoring, water efficiency monitoring, and better utilization for water, and crop production estimation, those are three major players and three major applications on the top of data collected by the advancement of satellite industry, space industry, and connectivity in general, to help the farmer in their daily operations.
This is, I think, it's very interesting. As Irene mentioned, the key is innovation. And I think a big challenge, as you mentioned, is to put all this, what sounds to be complex, into an accessible way for the farmer. I think Muhammad makes it sound very easy, but also what I like about this is that there is a sense of accessibility. The solution is provided through subscription. So instead of thinking that access to phones and internet requires a big capital or an investment, and hence there is not equitable access, you have brought all this satellite data to help the farmers. I go now to Nadine. Nadine, we would have loved to have you with us. I have to mention a quick thing before I pass the question to you. When we started this program and Robinson Agri joined us, this was 2020, 2021, so it was the COVID challenges. There were challenges in Lebanon. And then we were always thinking how these companies are going to make it and how are they looking at this. And Nadine just came in and said, well, this is our time. This is where we have to stand by our farmers. So Nadine, whether in the crisis or not, I think we would love to hear, how do you really change the life of your clients from resilience, climate resilience, but also improving their livelihood, and doing it all with a strong belief and a smile. We are with you, Nadine, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmad and Irene, for this introduction. And thank you, We4F, for inviting me to speak on behalf of We4F members and companies. So if I wasn't born in a company, in a family that works in agriculture, I would have still chosen it. Because with agriculture, we show the society advancement. So I am Nadine Khouri, the COO of Robinson Agri, a company of Quinta Group. It all started, it's a family business. It all started with my father 50 years ago. And in 2000, my sister Rula and I took over. And we pledged that we will grow the company with skills, with know-how, and with our presence all over the world. So with We4F program, it is helping us achieve this goal, and I think we are going very, very good. So today I'm proud to say that Robinson Agri is empowering farming communities. We are trying to englobe many aspects in the agriculture sector, from the greenhouse sector, greenhouse production and installation, to the irrigation, to the seedlings, to the smart irrigation, and to different part where we try to introduce technology and science into agriculture. Of course, we are trying as much as possible to reduce the CO2 emissions, and this is what we learned from We4F, to save our natural resources, and at the same time, to empower the farmers, and especially the youth and the women, and to empower our team. So the team and the company is very, very important. We are collaborating with different partners, either local, such as academia, or international and national, like We4F, like EBRD, like ILO, like USA. And what Mrs. Kitty just mentioned about We4F, I would like to add that We4F also connect companies together. For example, what is still lacking with us is Muhammad innovation about data, and this is how we are doing with V4F. We are coordinating together, partnering together in order to achieve much better for the farmers community.
Thank you very much, Nadine. My next question is, okay, these are all wonderful innovations and ideas. So what are the methodologies to scale them up? Obviously, this is not business as usual, and they are not the market norm. So any change tends to be challenging. So what are the methodological approaches or systematic tools to scale up these impactful business concepts and innovations so they can start to take a bigger foothold in markets? Irene.
So I'll be speaking to this point from a programmatic perspective for those of us here or who are designing programs to achieve water, energy, food nexus goals. And then I'll leave it to Mohammed and Nadine to talk about how they do it on the ground with their own technologies. So first of all, let's think of it as four main pillars. The first pillar is offering deep technical assistance, which is crucial because in emerging markets, such deep technical assistance services are not available for smaller companies or for scale-ups. And when I say deep technical assistance, I'm talking about technical assistance packages that are actually tuned to the scale of to the size of the companies, tuned to the stage of development, and also tuned to the sectors in which they're operating in. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We worked on a deep technical assistance package with the High Atlas Foundation, which is an amazing organization, a non-profit. I invite you to learn more about them. They actually develop, they engineer, procure, and contract sustainable tree nurseries to support farmers to switch from traditional water-intensive crops like wheat to more productive trees, fruit and nut trees. And we worked with them, traditionally, their main revenue stream was from the sales of trees, but we're working with them on diversifying their revenue streams to achieve financial sustainability, so helping them penetrate the carbon credit market, for example. And we worked with them on developing a business model and restructuring their organization in such a way that they can serve at scale carbon credit markets to finance their farmers and to finance their supply chain. So this is one example. Another example is Biomass in Lebanon, which is an organic fruit and vegetable producer, one of the leading producers in Lebanon and hopefully soon in the region. And we worked with them on a supply chain, deep technical assistance to support them in more sustainably scaling up their operations, their farming partners, formalizing those partnerships, but also integrating smallholder farmers in their supply chain and supporting them in being able to deploy sustainable practices at scale. Another example is Kaituzan, Egypt, which is an entity that produces integrated pest management solutions and biofungicides from shrimp peel. And actually, we worked with them on how to integrate women into their supply chain sustainably and to help them enhance their well-being and enhance their access to finance in a market that's predominantly dominated by male traders and those who own the cooling chain. There's another example on a technological aspect. We worked with a company called Integrated Renewable Sustainable Communities in Egypt, and they work also across Africa and the MENA region. They develop energy infrastructure solutions, and we've worked with them on designing technological components to decrease the cost of their systems by at least 20% when deploying these technologies to smallholder farmers, such as innovative inverters, for example. A second pillar is the investment readiness, as Ms. Kitty mentioned earlier, the investment readiness and brokerage services. So we offer the innovators deep due diligence, deep financial due diligence, both for them and also for their investors on their governance, on their financial structures, on their financial management systems, working with them on determining their optimal capital structure. And also this is coupled, as we mentioned earlier, with a de-risking grant of up to $30,000. Another key component is not just working with the companies, but also working with their enabling environment, supporting them in accessing new markets, supporting them in accessing new suppliers, potential buyers, but also working on enhancing the policies and the regulatory framework in which they operate. And we did this very well with Compost Baladi, a Lebanese company that was expanding to Jordan. We supported them on maneuvering the regulatory framework and understanding what kinds of environmental impact assessments, etc., that they may need to do, and supporting them with access to government and policymakers, etc. The last and not least pillar is end user financing. So most of the water and energy efficient technologies have high capital expenditures, as most of us know working in this sector, whether it's a drip irrigation system or a biogas unit or a solar pumping solution. These solutions have high capital investment that companies need to make, that farmers need to make, and agro-food processors need to make, unless it's a digital solution. So a big part of the services that the We4Food offers in its various hubs is developing, supporting the companies and developing end-user financing products internally and financial facilities to be able to make their technologies more affordable and more accessible, but also working with financial institutions, whether it's banks or microfinancing entities, to support them in developing specialized financial products to finance the farmers and to support their adoption and intake of these technologies. So I'll talk a little bit more about end-user financing later on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mohammed, how can your solution have more penetration, reach smallholders, more farmers? How can we scale up this business?
So since we are a data platform, so we are a digital service. So I will mention 3 main points that helped us to scale our business. First of all, the business model itself. We are providing the data as a subscription, so the agribusiness or our user doesn't have to pay a huge amount of upfront investment. So they pay as they go. They pay each quarter, so they don't have a huge upfront cost, and they pay on quarter base. This is one thing. So the business model itself, the nature of the business, the service itself has helped us to scale our business in a better way. The second thing is customer success. We have integrated a customer success team where we have both backgrounds within this team, people from technology and people from agriculture. So on daily basis, those person in customer success team has to check the data and act as a middle layer between the platform and the user. They are trying to make the data as simple as possible. Considering the nature of agriculture, people are always working under harsh conditions. So they really need the data to be delivered to them in a simple way, in a very understandable way, and to be actionable data, actionable insights. So this is what we have done by having and integrating this customer success teams that integrate both technology background people and agronomists within this team. And this is not only about people from agriculture and technology. It's also about people speaking the same language as our customer. So, for example, we deal with customers in United Arab Emirates, in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia. Those people are speaking in Arabic. So, most of the technology advancement and data platform, usually it is not coming from this region. So having this customer success team who really understand agriculture and technology and speaking in the same language makes difference for us. This is the second point. The third important point that we have done is a partnership. Now in platform, we are partnering with telco giants. Like for example, one of our partners in the region is the Zain telecom provider. Through this partnership, we are able to access Saudi market, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, Sudan. Those markets are all accessible to us by having this partnership with this telecom giant who plays and operates in many countries in the region. Second type of partnerships that we have done is a partnership with agronomists and agronomy consultancy companies. The companies that work with agribusiness, the companies that provide consultancy in this domain, in this market, we partner with them and we create a win-win situation, and we create a margin for them. So it become a win situation where they help us to penetrate and add more customers, and through them and through us they create more profit on the top of their legacy business. So those are the three main points that we consider: the partnerships, the customer success team, and the nature of our business model.
This is really amazing. I think it shows it's like a chemistry formula, and if you get all the pieces right, hopefully you can unlock this potential. Nadine, I already know that you have helped tens of thousands of farmers, but I know your dream to help millions and millions. How do you think you are going to do that?
Scaling up is like anything you do in your life. It's like how to reinvent yourself, your team, your company. And of course, we learned that to have a proper governance, to be always innovative and ready to transform. What we did is like what Muhammad did. Also, we worked, Rula, the team, and myself on different pillars. So the first pillar is that we shifted our company from an agri-input supplier to a more holistic approach, farming solutions. Let me throw some numbers. For example, when we started in 2000, we produced 10,000 seedlings for farmers. Now this year we reached 25 million. Or we didn't choose to do training before. Now we are starting to do training, and this year we reach training for different value crops around 10,000 farmers. Also for the irrigation solutions, we are providing a lot to farmers to save water. So we had around 5,000 solutions for irrigation. This is the first pillar. The second pillar is always to add, and this is what we believe, R&D, science and technology to agriculture. But at the same time, you should understand the culture of the farmer, and you should understand the culture of the area where you are providing this science and technology to farmers. For example, if you introduced greenhouse automation to have better aeration, then you will use less pesticides. You will use less fertigation. Or, for example, what we did with We4F project is we put drip irrigation for onions. So with the farmers, they reduce their CO2 emission by 60%. They reduce their water consumption, and they reduce their energy cost. And at the same time, the ultimate is to have a better, healthier production, and of course, a higher production for the farmer. The third pillar we worked on is, as Irene mentioned, is the end user financing. So you cannot grow without end user financing. You cannot achieve what you want from horticulture and agriculture without this. The fourth is that we believed a lot in SDGs, and we are implementing it. You know that we have a lot of women in our company in a senior position. We believe that they can do a lot. And we are a proud member of the UN Global Compact since 2018. And we are always try to train ourselves to learn. It's a non-stop learning path. So, and you always hear from others how they succeed and how they scale up, and in order to reach more for you and for your team. So moving forward, we are expanding our horizons as Robinson Agri-Quinta Group, and we are starting to put our footprints in the African market. So I think it's similar to what Mohammed mentioned. So you have to work on these pillars, to believe in them, and to be ready always to learn and to go much more than expected.
No, thank you very much, Nadine. I think for the audience, you think this is a lot of work. This is a lot of things to do, partnership, policy, end user finance. But you will be surprised at the cost effectiveness of this program. The amount of private capital that you can unlock, the investment you put in a program like this versus the CO2 savings and the resilience impact is quite impressive. I think as you see, what we can capture from the answers is really this is unlocking value. The $32 million leveraged in very short time in the MENA in very turbulent times is a lesson learned that when you work with innovators and you provide them with the right technical assistance and the smart capital, you can unlock much more potential. Now I go to the last question and then to the audience. Maybe I can go to the audience and then back if you have some questions.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Muhammad Ibrahim. I am the Director General of CATI. We are based in Costa Rica. We work in a dry corridor of Central America. And with the Swiss Development Corporation, we have a project on water harvesting in Nicaragua with more than 3,000 farmers. I think this project has really impacted the change of moving from subsistence farming to more economy of scale farming and articulating to markets. My question to you is about the due diligence. You mentioned that you can have a loan up to, I think, $30,000. How inclusive if the policies you're using to help those small farmers to access the finance who really can't comply with the due diligence?
I think, Irene, this is a very critical question. If you can shed us some light on when we work on end user finance, how we look at risk. Like it's, and even when Nadine does her end user finance or the banks, how we do look at risk. Our third question was revolving around risk. So maybe you can present the view of how alternative risk assessment mechanism can work.
So just to clarify, the up to $300,000 grant goes to the innovators, to the organizations themselves that are working with the farmers. And so in terms of end user financing, part of this grant goes into supporting the companies in offering enhanced financial facilities for the farmers. So for example, as Mohammed mentioned earlier, payment schemes that are aligned with the cash flows of the farmers. So instead of charging a subscription service, twice a year, the subscription service and the pricing is designed to fit the cash flow of the farmers. So this is one way, for example, a company like Platform is supporting with end user financing. A couple of other companies like Robinson Agri, who are offering advanced irrigation systems, companies like Green Essence, who are operating in Lebanon or offering solar pumping solutions, they are using the grant and the technical assistance by deploying, they're deploying a business model that supports the farmers in paying less of an upfront cost, and they do this by offering them payment facilities and, for example, asking them to pay a smaller percentage in the beginning and then phasing out the payments across in such a way that suits the cash flow of farmers.
And I think also we are bringing to the market the idea of alternative risk finance. So when you look at risk, you don't look at collaterals. You don't look, what you can look for example, as working with Nadine's team and some of the microfinance institution, what seeds the farmer is using. If the farmer is using climate resilient seed, if the farmer has 10 years experience, it doesn't matter if they have books. We have also cases where when you shift to this alternative risk schemes, you get really zero non-performing loans in what would be considered extremely risky lending cases. I know this is an emerging topic, but really this is where we should be shifting. We have evidence on the ground of how effective this alternative risk mechanism that has 20 elements, but none of them is the farmer collateral or bank track record. We're still experimenting, hoping to scale it up. Please.
Good morning. My name is Murad. I'm working for CGIAR in Wageningen University in the Netherlands. And CGIAR is especially Climate Resilience or Climber Initiative. And I'm an innovation and scaling scientist. And currently the work is actually how to create high readiness innovation portfolios. So I have two questions. The first one is to Irene. Is a bit like, you mentioned a lot of innovations. I mean, your work is complex. How do you manage that? How do you ensure that you capture the learning from one field, a package of innovations, and help to scale? Secondly, to Mohammed, like you talk about a lot of very interesting digital innovations and solutions. How about the behavioral data? Do you know any new technologies and solutions about the human element of scaling? I mean, it's excellent agroecology, but how about the human part? Thank you.
So if I understood the question correctly, we try to avoid as much as we can relying on human to collect the data to help the decision maker to take the decision on daily basis. So the sources of data that we use in platform are three sources. One of them is the daily activities that happen inside the farm. So this is one input. Second input is the data coming from ground sensors. Third important element that we rely on it heavily are the satellite imagery, satellite data that we collect on daily basis. By shifting more focus toward the two other parts, the ground sensor and remote and satellite sensors, this makes us avoid this dependency on human. Yeah. It's a major challenge in agriculture, to be frank. From education perspective, from connectivity perspective, connectivity is not always there. From errors perspective, like getting the data on timely basis, this is another perspective. So relying on human for agriculture. And by the way, just to be more fair, those guys are working under harsh condition most of the time. So giving a mobile app to a person who is working in the desert on major project to achieve a certain target with away from family, with low internet connectivity, an outdoor environment, and you are just pushing him to use technology, he has another KPIs to achieve. Okay, so we need to balance. We need to balance between the nature of the business itself and the target. Our target is to provide data to the decision maker to take timely decision, to monitor the crop, to monitor the water, to monitor the production. So we can get this data without a human or with minimum dependency on a human.
Thank you very much for the question. I also want to say that we will consider everyone that came at 8:30 here as a friend. So let's consider this as a start of a discussion. I think we are introducing new concepts that we are passionate about, but we realize the gaps and we need everyone's support. So let's consider this the beginning of the dialogue. So Irene, how do you manage all this from nurseries in Morocco to climate resilience, garlic in Sudan? Is it one solution? Is it like one size fits all or tailored? How do you manage all this innovation on behalf of the whole WIF team? Irene is here, but we are talking about a team of different experts: investment readiness, procurement, monitoring and evaluation, gender, different topics of technical assistance, policy. So how can you manage this?
So since we're friends, I'll speak very honestly. Yes, it is complex. There's a lot of work that's being done on the ground, and I could talk to you a little bit more about what happens on a day-to-day level with our team. So actually, we have country coordinators. So we have experts in different parts of different countries in which we work in. So we have someone in Morocco, we have a team in Lebanon, we have a team in Egypt. Since we're covering the MENA region, we've placed country coordinators in these different countries where most of the innovators are clustered to be able to serve them very directly when it comes to offering technical assistance, partnership opportunities, enabling environment opportunities, etc. When the innovators first join the program, we work with them on something called an action work plan or a transformation work plan, which is a 3-year work plan. It's very forward-looking, and it's basically focuses on what are the key actions and key KPIs in terms of business aspects. So what are their financial targets, their sales targets, their EBITDA targets, but there's also a lot of focus on their targets in terms of water savings, energy savings, food produced, hectares of land served. So it's a very structured document, and we work with them very closely for more than a month to develop the key actions that they will need to deploy in the next 3 years to be able to realize these targets and to be able to realize this impact. So it really starts with a very structured plan in which they get feedback from our ESG consultants, they get feedback from our technology and technical consultants, from our investment readiness team, our procurement team, etc. So this is how it starts, and then we meet with them very regularly on a monthly basis to make sure, you know, that they are aligned to these targets, but we also identify what are some of the support elements that could be needed to support them in achieving these targets. What's the technical assistance? What are some of the enabling environment interventions, etc. And there are commonalities between these scale-ups. You know, in the stage they're in, there is a common baseline of services that they require, like strategic planning, planning for growth, how to penetrate new markets, how to better integrate women, how to better serve smallholder farmers, and then aspects related to their operations and procurement, etc. But then there are unique aspects to each of these innovators as well that we cater to through our specialized technical assistance packages. So there's a lot of, you know, in a nutshell, there's a lot of follow-up, and there's a lot of constant evaluation of the targets. So twice a year, our team, with the support of an external evaluator, actually assesses how and why these companies are achieving or maybe drifting from these targets. So.
Good morning. My name's Robert Miller from the Australian Commonwealth Department of Water. Thank you for most absolutely fascinating discussion. It is absolutely applicable to our small farmers in Australia as it is to everyone here in the region here. So thank you. It's been resonating very, very well. My question is the risk approach to innovation. As financiers, as the farmers, the software developers, innovation inherently is about accepting risk and how you manage the risk, particularly with the proposition which you put forward, moderator, of and unlocking value. At times things won't work. How do you go about building a culture of risk acceptance, acknowledging at times things won't work, but maintaining momentum, particularly not just on a business, but on a sector scale?
Thank you very much. So I will actually take Nadine's view on this and then go to some of the panels. So Nadine, I think in Lebanon, in your work where there are certain market risks, and then you are introducing a new technology, drip irrigation. You are asking farmers to invest a little bit in it. Also your investors. This is obviously risky. It is perceived as risky, let's say. How do you manage this risk perception with farmers and with your investors? And how can you overcome this so the business can grow?
Yes, as mentioned, there is in agriculture, there is a lot of risk. The complexity of the farmers is the first risk. And of course, the nature, now the climate change, the environmental threat. But for the farmers, they are keen to introduce, because now they understood how much it is important for them to have income. So, and what we do at Robinson Agri is that we have a lot of agronomists that visited them on weekly basis. So you de-risk yourself with the farmers because you start to know him. You know that if you implement something new at his farm, he will follow. Our agronomists are following him. So to decrease the complexity of the farmers and of the nature, we are trying as much as possible to visit them, to know them more often, to introduce these new technology and alternative products to them. For example, hybrid seeds to decrease the disease, so they will have more income. At the end, when we are doing end users financing, we need to have the return on investment. So when we are giving them the new technology and the new innovation, we know that if he is followed by our engineers, then he will have money for himself and he will return to us. This is from the part of the farmers. From the part of investors, you know that investors usually they like to have a direct income, while it's not appealing for them because agriculture it's more on the midterm and long term. But if I want to give some numbers for investors, especially, that the global market worth is 246 USD billion and expected to grow in 2025 8%. And the healthy and convenient living trend is 32% of the world population daily diet. So this means that agriculture is the profession of the future. So investors have to be more ready for this about it. I will explain it more also if I still have more time.
Thank you, Nadine. And these are our friends, so we'll talk with them for long. Please.
Hi, Jen Abdella with the Near East Foundation. We support smallholders in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Morocco, so Sudan. This has been such an amazing panel, and it's been wonderful to learn from all of you. Thank you for such clear and interesting presentations of your work. Irene, you were talking about this package, and you explained it so well. When you think about scaling, it's pretty easy to think about how you scale market-based solutions and even finance. But all of the wraparound services that you talked about, the extension and the gender inclusion policy work, how are you transitioning that to your partners or to a system where you don't continue to do that? Because I assume that's grant funded, yeah?
No, this is an extremely critical question, and thank you for posing it, because this is part of the market injustice, right? Like the services we are talking about are typical consultancy services. Large companies can procure them from the market. But what do you do with SMEs that they cannot identify or procure this service? I think the absence of a service provision market in the region is one of the biggest gaps that this program is trying to fill. First of all, I have one comment that thank you for asking this, and maybe in next COP we have a better answer, but it's something that we are constantly thinking of. Part of what we do is that we try to rely on existing service providers, not only the teams directly, so you can catalyze this market. The other part is that the service provision, which is coming from a grant, if you think about it, it's a de-risking for the companies to invest in the service provision. The third part, we are trying as much as possible to standardize these services and make them into a menu where someone can go and procure them generally, not just from us. I think one of the biggest gaps is that there is no definition of the service. When if a company is not having proper sales, they can go to an advertising agency, but maybe the solution is not that. The solution is a strategic marketing plan. So we try to standardize these services and raise the market awareness around them. We don't fully have the answer, but it's something that we ought to think about for the future. One other solution is what we think of is the one that can really offer this subsidy quite well is the financial institutions, because it's in their interest to have a non-technical assistance service to ensure the success. So it is part of the de-risking of their portfolio. So that's another approach which is trying to work with the non-financial services advisory of the financial institutions. So it's a very critical point, and we need to think about it more. I will go now to Mohammed quickly with a question about the risk also. I think it's extremely risky for the farmer to take decisions from your app. And one mistake can really drive them to turn off completely from this. How did you manage this, and what is your experience now after overcoming this risk?
So this is a real question, and this is a real challenge, because the adoption of technology in agriculture is still at early stage. So people to get confidence in this data, still it has to be practiced again and again to get the full confidence. So part of the data is it's easy to convince. Like for example, when we give them a bad performing spot, we are telling them that our platform is identifying this area within this field as a bad performing spot. We just do a visits to them by customer success team. Just to consider or just to highlight, there is one important point. We do focus mainly at this stage at agribusiness. This is one of the de-risking factor. So for example, we cannot go to convince 1,000 distributed farmers with using this technology. So one of the de-risking factor, we focus on agribusiness, people who run big farms, so that we can pay huge attention to them, and we make sure that we educate them after spending some specific effort. So for example, we do visit them, we do train them at beginning, and we do take some use cases, some outcome of our platform, and we do visit. Like for example, we take the agriculture manager and we visit this field and this field and that field where our platform is identifying those spots are bad spots. So we give him the confidence that whenever you see highlights, insights, notification from our platform at 6 o'clock on daily basis, those notifications are accurate. And how we prove them? How we prove that? By doing field visits. This is one thing. Second thing is when we part of our platform data is agriculture. We tell them irrigation. Sorry, we tell them to stop irrigation today. So one of the cases that we faced at early stage is we had a conflict between the irrigation manager and the platform insights. So the idea is the platform was trying to optimize the water consumption to the max. So scientifically, it was trying to push the water to a certain level that it doesn't harm the crop, but it saves water. However, based on the normal practice that the irrigation engineers do, they usually over-irrigate. Why? Because the fact that they rely on the water doesn't harm. So if you put more water, it doesn't harm, but less water harms. So the idea is we try to reach a balance. So we realized after some field visits, like for example, the people who are cropping alfalfa, some of the salary of the engineer itself is a profit based on the production of the alfalfa. So the idea is alfalfa is a crop that heavily consumes water. So the benefit of the irrigation engineer is to irrigate more, but the platform tells him to stop irrigation. So the idea, we reached a middle point where our platform stopped to push him down to a lower level of soil moisture, where we have a win-win situation. We are not forcing him to lose his profit. Psychologically, he fears that if he stops irrigation for many days, for 2-3 days, this will impact his profit, his production, and ultimately his profit. So the idea, we were in a middle stage. Stop irrigation for 1 day and irrigate after tomorrow. Instead of stop irrigation for 2 days, no, stop for 1 day. And we reached this based on field visit, to be frank, and understanding how the business run. We didn't realize that part of his salary is dependent of the alfalfa production.
So this is a very real example on the challenges on the ground. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank the panelists and the audience. It's a very nice journey for us, and we wish you can join us. We will be available for discussion. Thank you very much for everyone for attending. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.